Very curious boy. I would spend time in my mother's room, rummaging in her cabinet. So I started coming across some books. I found and read Thomas Hardy's Mayor of Casterbridge, and I read Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, The Joro Plays by Wole Soyinka. And at some point, my sister started giving me books written by Adeza Atwego, a lady known as Adeza Atwego. I mean, she was a teenager then. At 17, she already had 17 books published. When I began to develop an intimacy with her work, I started realizing that I could write too. I mean, if Adeza Atwego could do that at that age, so why not me? So I started writing. And since then, I found that writing became my life. The only source of happiness that I had. And it wasn't until I started publishing, my books started getting published, and I started meeting some other African writers. It wasn't until then that I started feeling that sense of belonging. I met people like Onyeka Mwelwe, and someone I had admired for so long, for years, and then he contacted me and wanted to publish my second book in the UK just that way. I had written about him years ago, calling him my person of the year, and he didn't know anything about me. He didn't know that I existed. So I met him and some other wonderful African writers from Nigeria, Leye, Stephen. And the one thing there are two things that I've discovered that we have in common. Number one thing is that I found that we're all strolling beyond the boundaries of sanity. When you lift the euphemism in that, it means that we're all mad. For me, sometimes it comes with this overwhelming urge to be alone. And Onyeka at 16 left his father's house and went away to faraway India to write his award-winning debut, The Abyssinian Boy. When you meet writers, you hear all these stories. But I'm getting to say that all these amazing writers that are coming out of Africa, we all looked up to the older generation, coming up. For me, his works I read growing up, and Adeza Atwego's books made me to start writing. I would mention Onyeka again because he made all this simple. Onyeka is Wole Soyinka, a man he adored and has followed throughout his life. Now, we acknowledge these old writers, Cyprian Ekwensi, Amos Tutuola, Wole Soyinka, and the rest of them. We acknowledge Professor Kachi Ezigbo. Okay, she's not here. We acknowledge all these people. So why shouldn't we acknowledge James Currey? I mean, we called him the godfather of African literature at some point, and then some South Africans that didn't know anything about the man started attacking that comment. But we know what he did for us. We know what he did for the people that paved the way for us, what he did for Africa. So for so long we've let me just quickly now finish up this. These writers paved the way for us. Talked about some of the writers I just mentioned, and we know this. We acknowledge them everywhere we go. We should also always acknowledge the man James Currey. He set out to publish Africans when people did not think that Africans had a voice. When people from the West preferred to read stories that presented Africans as brainless savages and hunter-gatherers plagued by hardship, diseases, and bad leadership. It is heartbreaking that even in this present day, with the internet and social media and the deluge of information that comes with it, a lot of people in the West still hold on to these stereotypes with some sort of intentional ignorance, as if to say there could be more, but we don't want to know. This is what and how you're supposed to be. If you aren't there, we're no longer interested in what you have to say. For so long, we let Europeans tell our story from their flawed points of view. Writers began to question stories that had stood for so long, some of them unfair stereotypes, some blatant lies, written and believed about the African race and the place we all call home. People like Achebe questioned Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. We started questioning things. We started making people question things. We stopped believing that Mungo Park discovered River Niger. Africans are a people with their own story. They are not waiting to be discovered. It is shocking arrogance to think that you can discover a people. It means you only see the world from only where you stand. This is how Mungo Park thought. This is how Joseph Conrad thought. And because because a lot of people in the West thought like this, they read their literature and accepted these stories. But Professor James Currey did not think like this. He saw a people capable of telling their own stories, people that had their own voices. All they needed was that platform for their voices to be heard. And he did just that, provide this platform. Is the reason we are all gathered here tonight, to celebrate African literature and the promises that it holds. For the past 1 year, I and other members of the jury and the college had read hundreds of manuscripts to select for the second time the best unpublished work of fiction written by an African about Africa. To the shortlisted candidates, we have some of them here tonight. Some couldn't get their visas ready before. I say to you, writing is a blessing and a curse. And often as writers, we will always ask ourselves what we're supposed to do with this gift. People will always ask you, why do you write? Don't keep quiet. On the days you have the strength to talk, tell them that you're a voice of a continent, a voice for generations past, present, and yet to come. On other days, make it personal, more personal. Tell them you write because you cannot live without it. And you won't be wrong. I know this because I too cannot live without writing. I too cannot live without writing. I would end by saying, writing must teach you patience. There's that urgency to put all before whatever it is we're doing here comes to an end, to put all out. If my words would guide you, let the words of Rene Mairobike in one of his letters to young couples do. In being an artist, there is no measuring with time. A year doesn't matter, and 10 years are nothing. Being an artist means not numbering, not counting, but ripening like a tree, but it comes only to those who are patient. You have to learn that patience is everything. The shortlist for the James Currey Prize 2022 was selected from writers from different regions in Africa. Rich stories. Esemonofu, Ebelena Tobena's Madness tells the story of academic life on the corridors of higher institutions. The story flows like its title with no clear structure, almost like a good old stream of consciousness writing, just madness, but enjoyable. Abena's Ndago's Lord Kitchener opens with a strong statement of a desire on the part of Ombam, the main character, to rule the world, which immediately incites the reader to understand that there is a cost that goes with this. Buntu Suisa's Paperless is a story of boundaries, purpose, and belonging. It is sad to read the woes of Bongani as he searches for belonging in a place he is not welcome. Rose Okeke's Child of the Corn tells the story of Africa beautifully in terms of the fetish inclination and beliefs. It is also interesting to see the tension in the relationship between Sina and her mother expressed clearly through the narrative, a beautiful reimagination of history. Mohamed Hami's Mandiga's Well addresses a notable topic, the plight of women in rural areas due to the lack of a basic amenity, water. The message is therefore clear and resonates with a wider readership rather than a precise one. I said it during one of the panels that we're all winners. People, once you're shortlisted for this prize, you're all winners. I would leave another statement to just encourage us. I say you're a writer. It is only by retaining full consciousness of what you are that you can understand life and its expectations better. Most nights, untold stories in your head will keep you awake. You will not be rich, not as you want. You will not be as famous as a rock star, but you have something. Through your characters, you will live 1,000 lives in one. Through them, you will travel to countries without leaving the confines of your room and the vastness of your solitude. And you will tell your stories. I would like to thank a few people. I would like to thank the British Council for all their support to the James Currey Society, for making it possible for a lot of us to be here. I would like to thank them for this support that they've rendered to African literature. And I would also love to thank the bearded man over there, my friend, my brother, my publisher, Dr. Onyeka Mwilwe, for his amazing and wonderful contributions towards the growth of African literature. And I would love to thank Professor James Currey for everything you've done for African literature. I wouldn't have had the chance to be on panels and speak in the best university in the world. I wouldn't have had the chance to stand here and speak to all you wonderful people if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for what you did for the writers that came before us. We say thank you. We wish you health, good health. We wish you immortality if nature is kind to us. We wish you everything good. Thank you. Thank you. So finally, I'd like to thank the jury members. They're not here tonight. They're from different parts of Africa. And then we had Dr. Suraj Jenja from India. And presenting the award for the 2022 James Currey Prize for African Literature. The award goes to the award goes to Rose Okeke with her amazing work of fiction, Child of the Corn. Unfortunately, you said you don't like using the word unfortunately.
Yeah.
Rose couldn't be here. We did everything possible. I mean, British Council, they were there to support, the trip down here. But she couldn't be here because she had issues with, getting her visa out. But and because it was just me and the other jury members that knew who the winner was, we couldn't say, oh, Rose won, let somebody come and represent her. So nobody here. But I have Dr. Buntu Siswa here. I have Selma from Netherlands representing Mohammed Hami. And I would love to say that we had fun. We thoroughly enjoyed reading the manuscripts that we selected to make the shortlist. Thank you all for writing these stories, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. That was very long.